Hi, this is Gary with MacMost.com. Today let me show you how to apply a color splash effect to your pictures in the Mac Photos app. MacMost is brought to you thanks to a great group of more than 600 supporters. Go to MacMost.com/Patreon. There you could read more about the Patreon campaign, join us, and get exclusive content and course discounts. So you have a lot of photo adjustment controls in the Mac Photos app. One of the things you can do is to desaturate your photos. In other words, turn them from color to black and white. But you don't have to do that for your entire photo. You could do it for some colors and not for others. You can use this to create a color splash effect where you pick out a specific color in a photo, highlight that, and fade everything else back to grayscale. Let's take a look at some examples. So let's start off with this photo here of some kayaks. And you can see the kayaks are yellow. So we can work with that yellow. Let's go to Edit. And then what we're going to do is we're going to go to Selective Color. Now Selective Color gives you 6 different colors across the top. And then for each of those you can adjust the hue, saturation, luminance, and range. So we're going to go and figure out which of those colors is closest to the one that we want to highlight. In this case, of course, it would be yellow. So for everything except for yellow, we're going to select that color and desaturate. Go all the way down for each one. And once we've done that, the picture is mostly grayscale, except the yellow, which is still there a little bit. What we're going to do for that is the opposite. We're going to saturate that. We're going to bring that up to whatever we want. We can go to an extreme or maybe something a little bit less than that. So you can see now how we have the desired effect. The yellow is highlighted. Now the luminance will actually make that brighter or darker, which could also enhance the color. Now of course there's way more than 6 colors in this photo. The range determines how much this individual selection affects colors near it, so colors near yellow. If we take it down, it'll have less colors near yellow. We bring it up and more colors will be brought out that are closer to yellow. In this case it works just fine in the middle. So we can actually fine tune this color. Instead of pure yellow, we can click the eyedropper tool and select a yellow from the photo here. This doesn't make too much difference here since that was so close to pure yellow, but in other photos it will help bring out that particular color. So you want to do that just for the color that you're highlighting. And note that you don't have to bring everything completely back to grayscale. I could go in here and add some saturation for these other colors here, just to bring some color back in while still emphasizing the yellow. Here's another example. Let's emphasize the color here in this mushroom, which isn't red exactly, but it's close to it. So we're going to go with all the other colors except red. Bring the saturation for those down. And then we'll go to red, but instead of just using red as is, we'll use the eyedropper tool, select something in here that better represents the color, and then we will bring up the saturation for that. Now another thing you can do is change the color, or actually change the hue of the selected color. So I could bring that over to the right and you could see I now have a yellow mushroom. I could bring it over to the left and now I have a purple mushroom. What you get is going to depend on the color that you start with, but you can create some interesting effects using that. Sometimes you really don't want to completely de-emphasize the color around it, but you can see here how you have this nice red flower, but the green is just too bright around it. So I'm going to go in and I'm going to first take the red here and add some saturation for that. I'm going to take other colors and desaturate them, but not all the way. But I'm not going to touch green yet. And now I'm going to go into green here and I'll add a little bit of saturation for green as well. Now you can still see that these leaves are green, but the flower stands out a lot more. If you click on this button here, you can swap the original and the one with adjustments. So click that down. You can see there's the original and here's the one with the adjustments. So you can see the flower stands out a lot more even though I haven't completely removed the green from the leaves around it. Here's an example where you can do things with 2 different colors. So I'll edit this and let's bring out the red in these Highland cows. So I'm going to go to red here, click on the eyedropper tool, select something that's a little closer to the color there, add some more saturation to that. Then for other colors I'm going to desaturate. And this will create a nice image in itself. But what I want to do now is go back to the green here and bring back the saturation of the green. Maybe use the eyedropper tool to select something that fits that green a little bit better even. And now with green selected, I can use the hue to change the color of the green. So if I bring that down a little bit, you could see it actually changed it to more of a tan. And now instead of a green field, it's kind of a drier, tanner field. Now a big problem with this technique is, of course, sometimes the color exists in more places. So if I want to emphasize the color in this fabric here, I can do it, but it's also going to bring out the color in the buildings. So I'll go to red, I'll click here and take a sample from that. I will increase that a bit and I will desaturate most of the rest of the colors. And that works great, except it really also brings out the color here. So what do you do in that case? Well, unfortunately, Photos isn't going to allow you to do this on its own because you can't select an area of an image in Photos. But it's pretty easy to do that in one of the standard apps a lot of Mac users use, like for instance, Pixelmator or Acorn or something like that. As a matter of fact, it's easy to edit the photo right from the Photos app. So in here, I could click this button here and choose from different filters provided by those apps. So there's the Pixelmator Pro Filter. But I find I have better control in a lot of cases if instead I exit the editor here, then go to Image and then Edit With. And you can see I could select all these different tools that allow you to edit photos, including Pixelmator Pro. That's here at the top because it was the last used application. I'll open this up in Pixelmator Pro. And just as an example of how to use a third-party tool to do this, I will take this, I'll duplicate this background here. So now I have two copies of it. With the frontmost one selected, I'm going to select the Quick Selection tool and highlight the monk really easily. Every editing app has different ways to make a quick selection like that, or you can draw carefully around the object yourself. But here I've done that. I'm going to go in and invert the selections. Now I've selected everything but the monk. I'm going to hit the delete key to delete everything around there. So you can see now the one layer is just the monk and the other layer is the monk with everything else. So let's get rid of the selection. I'll select the background layer here. I'll go to Format, Color Adjustments, and then Hue and Saturation. And that'll bring up Pixelmator's Hue and Saturation controls. I can see them here and I can desaturate everything except that the monk in the other layer is not desaturated. It's just everything in the second layer that is. Now I can go to this layer and I can go to Format, Color Adjustments, Hue and Saturation here. It'll bring that up and I could super saturate the monk there to bring that out. Now since I started this by using Edit With in Photos, all I need to do is save and then close. And now I'm back in Photos and I could see it saved the edits I made in Pixelmator Pro. The same thing would happen if I was using Acorn or another app. Now I have the fabric here nice and colorful, but the buildings are all grayscale. And note that all editing in Photos is non-destructive. In other words, I can go to Edit here and I could see the original there by clicking on that button. And I can always revert all my changes back to the original photo by clicking this button if I wish, even changes made in an external editor. So with these techniques, you can take some of your original photos and apply the color splash effects to create stunning new versions of them. I publish new tutorials every weekday. Hit the subscribe button so you don't miss out. Then hit the little bell icon to get notifications for each new tutorial.